Welcome back to the Untouchaballs podcast. Caden, Leo, and Evan here. Caden and Evan, how are y'all doing today?
Not too shabby, Max. Not too shabby. It's tournament time,
Great.
baby.
Let's go. Let's roll.
That's what I like to hear. We got some exciting enthusiasm, of course, as always, our annual 2025 March Madness Bracket Prediction episode. We're going to run through every single leg of what we got here, Caden. So let's start off with the first game, and Caden, take us through this.
Yeah, so before we get started, I want to run through a couple like trends and stuff we've been seeing in recent tournament stuff to help maybe you guys build your brackets, stuff we've taken into account with building ours, and just stuff to know for also betting some of these games. So first off, we're going to start with just the champion overall. No team has lost their last 3 out of 4 games and ended up winning the title. So that actually eliminates Auburn as one of the 1 seeds right there. But then also, 34 of the last 34 champions have had more assists than turnovers. 32 of 34 of the head coaches have had previous Sweet 16 experience. The only exceptions are the 2014 and 2023 UConn Huskies. The 28 of 29 past champions went to the tournament with greater than or equal to 3 wins versus top 10% of teams in RPI. The only exception is that 14 UConn team. 29 of the last 29 champions have had a top 75 strength of schedule, and 21 of the last 22 champions have had a top 20 Ken Palm adjusted offense and defense. The only exception on the offense is that once again that 2014 UConn squad, and the only exception on the defense is the 21 Baylor squad. So that leaves Auburn, Duke, Houston, Iowa State, and Tennessee as like based on these possible winners. But then also you remember what the thing I first said that kind of takes out Auburn. And I guess one of the big exceptions here would be Tennessee, not Tennessee, Florida, as they fit into every statistic in here except for their head coach having previous Sweet 16 experience. So we could see that maybe fall more to 32 out of 35 into this year. Some of the earlier rounds, too, we have at least one first four team has won a round of 64 game, 12 of the last 13 tournaments, and 10 of those 12 teams have actually played on the Wednesday slate of first 4 games. 15 of the last 16 tournaments has had one top 4 seed lose round 1. 28 of the last 39 tournaments has had a 13 seed win a round 1 game. 37 of the last 39 tournaments and 16 of the last 16 has had a double digit seed reach the Sweet 16. And only once, and that was in 2008, has all 4 number 1 seeds made the Final Four. So we're going to go through our brackets. We have some of that stuff in mind as we're going through. So we're going to start off. We're going to start in the South region. We're going to go through all the round of 64 games, then the round of 32, 16, 8, 4 championship. So we're going to start off in the South region where we're going to have Auburn, and they're going to be facing Alabama State, the 116 matchup. I'm going to go and just say this. I think this is easy, not much discussion. I have Auburn. I don't think we need much more to say. I don't really see a 116 upset coming this year.
Agreed.
Agreed, Caden. I also have
Okay.
Auburn.
Now we got the 8-9 matchup, which should be a good matchup between Louisville and Creighton. Uh, the line opened more as a pick 'em, and as we saw, like the day after the lines came out, Louisville actually jumped up to like a 2.5 point favorite. I do have Louisville in this game. I think they're one of these better teams in the conference. I wish they could have gotten a better seed so they wouldn't have had to play Auburn in the next round, but I do have Louisville advancing over Creighton in the round of 64.
Yeah, Kate, I think this is going to be a very exciting one, actually. Louisville with a lot of potential to explode and make this game a shooting spectacular game. But I think Louisville does come out over Creighton and gets a narrow victory. But this one should be a fun, exciting one in the first round.
I agree. I also have them. I like their coach a lot. I have them going pretty deep. So go Louisville.
Next matchup we do have is the 5-12 matchup between Michigan and UC San Diego. And this is the first upset we see in my bracket, as I have UC San Diego going in and actually beating Michigan. I know Michigan just ended up actually winning the Big Ten tournament, but teams that have played in the Big Ten championship don't fare well in the first round of the tournament. I think it has something to do with the championship game being on Sunday, then having to play again that Thursday, Friday matchup. But UC San Diego is one of the best 3-point defense teams in the country. They're top 10 in opponent 3-point percentage. They're also one of the better offenses, getting right at the hot time. They are also one of these upper echelon in 3-point percentage, not even just at home, but on the road. and especially even on the road, their opponent 3-point percentage goes down even more to just, I think, if I remember right, I think it was 27% is their opponent 3-point percentage when they're on the road. So yes, I have UC San Diego advancing over Michigan in this matchup. What about you
This
boys?
this one's interesting, Caden, because I also came out and put UC San Diego as an upset over number 5 Michigan. This one's gonna be kind of crazy because, like you said, upsets are bound to happen, and I don't know why we both kind of felt Michigan is the team that's gonna come out and kind of lay a dud in this first round, but we're gonna have to wait and see. But once again, I totally agree with you, and I'm riding with that pick of UC San Diego.
I am going against you boys. I'm picking Michigan. Go Wolverines. I don't know. I feel like they're coming off a big win, coming off a little bit of a win streak here. I think they're going to carry into the tournament.
Okay, I definitely see that. They came in as the 4 seed in that Big Ten tournament, ended up winning it all, beating Maryland in that championship and beating Wisconsin State before. So this, they are riding hot, and we'll see. I think this could be a very interesting matchup. Next one is Texas A&M and M and Yale in the 4-13 matchup. If you guys remember our episode last year, or Dwyer, if you remember just from being during our game last year when we were riding the bench, I had Auburn winning the whole tournament last year, and they lost to Yale in the first round. I'm not going to pick Yale to win in the first round again. I'm riding with Texas A&M. I think they are a much better team. I know Yale is a one of these better offenses in the league, but also their strength of schedule isn't great. They've been playing a lot of Ivy League schools. And then when you look at Texas A&M, they have a top 10 defense in the country. When you look at it, Ken Palm, they are actually the where are we? Texas A&M. Texas A&M has the seventh ranked Ken Palm adjusted rated offense. So the top 10 defense, top 10 defense against a Yale team that's, like I said, Ivy League. I don't think we're going to see a crazy upset with them like we saw last year against Auburn.
Yeah, Caden, this Texas A&M team is really complete, and I actually do have kind of a little spoiler. I do have them making a Sweet 16 run this year. We'll talk about that a little later down the line, but I do think that they got to come out and get a good performance and a good quality win against Yale that really kickstarts this tournament run for them, and I expect them to do that.
I also have Texas A&M. I like the school. They beat some. They already beat Auburn this year. Beat Purdue. They played some close games against some good opponents, and I also have them advancing pretty far.
Next, we got the 6-11 matchup between Ole Miss, and now we know it's North Carolina after they were able to beat San Diego State tonight. And this is a game where I think the 11 seed comes out on top. I believe in North Carolina is going to end up coming in and beating Ole Miss. Ole Miss has had some good games, but also those good games in obviously a very tough SEC, which saw 14 of the 16 teams actually make the tournament, the most all time by a single conference. But when you look at this, North Carolina, they've been playing some of their best basketball in this last month, and Ole Miss has been kind of the opposite. They had the good home win against Tennessee towards the end of the regular season, but then you look at they've had some bad losses, lost to Mississippi State, didn't look good in the SEC tournament itself. I think North Carolina's more peaking at the right time. They already had this game tonight under their belt. They had a dominating win over San Diego State. I think they come in and get this victory over Ole Miss in the 11-6 upset.
Caden, you're a little more bold than I am in this one, as well as North Carolina has been looking over the last stretch or so. I just feel like their weaknesses, their liabilities are going to show at this point. I think Ole Miss has played the tougher competition throughout the season, and they're going to be more prepared to come in and have this dogfight kind of matchup in the first round. And I think they are able to get past UNC.
Personally, I'm taking North Carolina with you, Caden. I believe they're riding high, and I think something with playing recent also helps. So that's why I'm taking them in round one.
Next up, we have the 3-14 match between Iowa State and Lipscomb, where I don't expect a big old blow up by Iowa State here. I know Kashawn Gilbert's going to be out for the tournament. He's their second leading scorer on the year, which I think could hamper them later in this tournament, but I don't see it coming against Lipscomb. They're already a big double-digit favorite, and I can see them riding to an easy victory here in round one.
Caden, this Iowa State team can be deep at times. We saw an absolutely ridiculous shooting display from Curtis Jones in that Big 12 tournament. He really turned it on coming off as the sixth man of the year in the Big 12. And I think they are, one of these sneaky teams that if they do get hot, if they do play well, we see at one point they were ranked top three in the country for a reason. They can get active, they can get at you on defense. They're very long, they can get in the passing lanes. And I think, against a team like Lipscomb, this is a very easy cleanup victory that advances them on into the next round.
I agree 100%.
Nothing more to add there?
I like them, dude. I like them a lot.
Awesome. Hey, now we move on to the 7-10 match between Marquette and New Mexico. This is actually another upset I do have on my bracket here, as I have New Mexico coming in and beating Marquette, whereas we've seen Marquette, at least lately towards the end of the season, in this Big East schedule, lose some games they probably shouldn't. They got blown out by St. John's in this Big East championship game where they had a lead and were close for most of the game. They ended up losing that game by, I think it was 15 or 16 points. So they've not looked great. Then on the other end, New Mexico, they have two very good big men. They are one of these better offensive teams per possession in the country. And then Marquette, also, I mean, Shaka Smart being their coach doesn't bode well for the team. He's not a great or even that good of a coach at all. So I'm going to ride with the Lobos in this one.
I'm taking them with you, man. I'm a big New Mexico guy. I have them going pretty far. I like them a lot. It seems like they played a lot of close games this year with some good opponents, and I think that's a key in, you're showing you're not getting blown out a lot. So if you're keeping games close, I feel like anything happens.
Max, who do you have in this matchup?
Yeah, Caden, I agree. Sorry, kind of had a little bit of a cutout there, but this New Mexico Lobos team is dangerous. It was one we thought would go far in that, Mountain West tournament. Ultimately didn't have the tournament that they thought they would, but I think that only gets them more primed and more motivated heading into this NCAA tournament coming into dub round one and, upset Marquette.
Okay, we're all on the 10-7 upset here with New Mexico. Next one, I assume we're all going to be the same on Michigan State against Bryant. Bryant getting the auto bid by winning their conference. Michigan State being a 2 seed by being one of the best teams in the country. I'm taking Michigan State all day, every day. Don't see really an upset brewing here.
Same here.
And I'm going to assume Mex has the exact same. I don't think he's that bold to have a Bryant upset over Michigan State.
This Michigan.
So now we're going to move on.
I think we're going to make a run. So, yeah.
Now let's get over to the western region of this bracket. Florida's bracket is there, the 1 seed here. And in the first round, they'll be taking on Norfolk State. Once again, kind of like Auburn, not much to say. I don't have any 16-1 upsets. So give me Florida. I think they are one of the top 2-3 teams in the country right now. So I'm riding with Florida in this one against Norfolk State easily.
Easy one.
Yeah, Kate.
Now we got a little more of an. Go on, Max. Go on.
No, you continue. Sorry.
Well, okay. So I guess our next matchup will be that 8-9 matchup between the UConn Huskies and the Oklahoma Sooners. UConn obviously not looking as good with Dan Hurley as we've seen the last couple years when they went back to back in the championship. But they're still a very good basketball team. They looked pretty good in that Big East tournament. Oklahoma, after starting the year off amazing, be one of these top 15 ranked teams in the country, has really fallen off. I know they played a very tough SEC schedule, but I still think UConn's going to come out on top here.
I also think UConn comes out. Okay, they're the veterans. They've been there. They've done that. They've had the experience. And even, with the season that they've had not going exactly their way, they had the early loss to the University of Colorado. I still think that they come out and get the victory over Oklahoma.
I'm with you guys. I believe experience is probably the biggest thing in these kind of tournaments like this. So might as well take the guys that probably have the most experience out of them all. So.
Now we have another 5-12 matchup here between Colorado State and Memphis, where Memphis is the 5 seed, but they're not favored in this game. Colorado State is actually a 2.5-point favorite over Memphis, as Memphis will be missing their best player in Tyrese Hunter. He's going to be out for this game against Colorado State. Dante Harris might also be out for them. So if you look at Colorado State too, they come in outside looking in, going into the tournament. They make a huge run in the Mountain West tournament, win that tournament actually very easily. Didn't really have any close games in that tournament. They're the favorite. I know the seeding doesn't say it. They're the favorite in this game. I'm riding with the Rams to come in and get this victory over Memphis.
Yeah, Caden, this is right on pace with what the Colorado Rams do. They've played well. Congratulations to them on being conference champions, positioned themselves to come in. And although they are technically the 12 on paper, I think they come in and get this victory with the shorthanded, Memphis team. And with that being said, I think this falls. I think Nick Clifford's good enough to propel them into a victory, but I think that might be as far as they go.
I'm with you guys. Colorado State, they get the dub.
Now we have the 4-13 matchup between Maryland and Grand Canyon. Maryland has one of the best starting five in the country. You have Queen as a freshman just going off one of the best players in the country. Their starting five is amazing. They don't have a single thing when it comes to the bench unit, so I think that can hamper them further down the line of this tournament, but not in the round of one against Grand Canyon, where yes, they were able to go in and win their conference tournament pretty easily. They had a couple close games, but nothing really out of their hand. But when you look at them offensively, they are below they're behind a 150 in the country in points per possession. So I'm gonna ride with the Maryland team that actually can shoot, can score the ball very well against a team that really can't, and they're just a lower tier opponent than Maryland.
Yeah, Caden, I think this one's pretty cut and dry, clear here on who's going to come out and get this victory. I don't think there will be any surprises here. I think Maryland's a very polished team, and I think they're going to come out and get the dub pretty handedly.
I'm with you guys. I don't see this being an upset at all. So, go Maryland.
Now in the 6-11 matchup, we have Drake versus Missouri, where Drake is one of the teams. They went 30-3, won the Missouri Valley with a lot of pretty easily, but they are the slowest team in the country when it comes to pace. They average the least amount of possessions per game offensively. They're trying to control that clock, control the game, and make it so they can get good looks late in the shot clock. Missouri, obviously SEC school, they were able to put up good offensive numbers, score good, quick, score fast. While I think the under could be a good play in this game, look out because me and Mex will have our on Instagram at the Untouchaballs _ podcast. We're gonna have our best bets graphics out there for every round of 64, 32, 16, 8 for championship. So when you look at that, I'll be looking at the under for this Missouri Drake game, but I do think even though Missouri's only like a 6.5 point favorite, depending on where you look, I will be riding with Missouri with the Tigers coming here and get that victory.
Caden, we have a little bit of a disagreement. I'm on the contrary end. I kind of like the way this Drake team has played. We've seen them, get motivated to get jacked up for the tournaments in years past. And I think this is just one of the times where they might catch a Missouri team lacking or sleeping on them a little bit. And I think they get into a dogfight, into a scrappy, low-scoring contest that Missouri really doesn't want to be in. And Drake finds a way to get an ugly W. And I see them pulling out the upset.
I'm with you. I'm a big Drake guy. I think being 30-3, like you've shown winning all year round. Only 3 losses to your name. Like I feel like that's not going to be an easy opponent for Missouri. So that's why I'm going Drake for the upset.
Okay, hey, so I'm all by my lonesome on that one. I see it. I'm ready to be right, but I see it. Now in the 4-13 matchup between Texas Tech and UNC Williamson, I think this could actually be more of an interesting game than maybe what the spread and everything's saying. But even still, I think Texas Tech is going to come in and be able to win this game. Like not like without a doubt. Like it could be close throughout, but Texas Tech is going to, I think, always have this game in hand. They are one of these better offensive teams in the country. They can shoot the three. They can score in the paint. I think that this Texas Tech is a very good team, so I'm going to be riding with them to advance over UNC Williamson.
Ken, this is one of the good teams I had a chance to watch in this past week at the Big 12 Champions. Got to see them up close and in action. And man, is this team fun. When they get hot from 3 and they get going, it's super fun to watch. And of course, they have the reigning Big 12 Player of the Year in JT Toppin, who's, when he turns it on, he's a specimen. He enforces his will in the paint. He's dominant. He's everything you want to see for. In a big coming out from Texas Tech. And I think that they come out and they put on a pretty impressive performance and are dominant after having a close semifinal loss to the Arizona Wildcats in the Big 12 tournament.
I'm also with you guys. Texas Tech. I'm just looking at the graphic right now. It sounded like they played Houston pretty close. Only lost by 8. Again, keeping games close against really good opponents. I'm going Texas Tech in this one.
Now in the 2-15 matchup, St. John's against Omaha. I don't have much to say about this
Whoa,
except I'm
whoa,
riding with St.
whoa,
John's. I think
whoa!
they are.
You're
Oh,
gonna
my
skip
bad.
Kansas and
My
Arkansas?
bad. We have the 7-10 matchup. I looked right past that. We have the 7-10 matchup between Kansas and Arkansas. This game, kind of like that Creighton Louisville game, opened more as a pick 'em on a lot of sites, but then it's jumped up to Kansas being a 4.5, 5 point favorite. I agree with that line jump, because I think even though this Kansas team hasn't looked great throughout the season, it's still Bill Self and March, one of the best coaches in college basketball. Hunter Dickinson, while he might be painful to watch, is one of these better big men in college basketball as well. So I'm going to be riding with the Jayhawks to come in here and get that victory round 1 over the Razorbacks.
All the same here, Caden. Obviously, Hunter Dickinson can be a specimen when he gets it going on the court, and I just do think that the experience and the coaching and everything that you have mentioned is going to be a reason why Kansas gets propelled past Arkansas in what is pretty much a pick-em game.
I will be taking tails in this one, guys. I'm taking Arkansas. Big John Calipari guy. Yeah, man. Go Razorbacks. Go Razorbacks.
Hey, Calipari's a great coach. It wouldn't, I'd say, shock me if we see Arkansas come in and get a victory. They've had some good wins late in the season. They were able to beat Mississippi State to end the regular season. And yeah, Calipari is one of these greatest coaches of our generation. So it could be, but I think just Bill Self himself, a little better come March time, and Hunter Dickinson is probably going to be the best player on the court. Now we'll get back to what I started to say before that with the 2-15 matchup between St. John's and Omaha, where, yeah, it's St. John's. I have them as probably a top 5 team in the country. I think they're one of the best teams in the country. You have a second-year Rick Pitino coach team, where we always see his team take the big second-year jumps. We saw with Louisville, where they reached the Final Four. He had it with Kentucky. And now with St. John's, they had a pretty good season last year with his first year as coach. This year, come in, win the Big East with be one of these top-ranked teams in the country, one of the top-ranked defenses in the country. Sadly, outside of the top 20 in offense, in Ken Palm adjusted offense, but they are a top 10 defense. And Rick Pitino and company, I think they're going to come in, dominate this game, and go on a little bit of a run in this tourney.
Caden, I like everything you just said. I expect him to come up and kind of whoop on Omaha here a little bit. I think this one's going to get out of hand. This one might get a little ugly, but that's what we love in March Madness basketball. Give me St. John's.
Agree all the way, boys.
Okay, now we're going to move over to the east part of the bracket, which this is Duke's bracket, and they will be facing off against either American or Mount St. Mary's. This game will be happening later tonight as you guys are watching this, as the first 4 game for the 16 seed. Don't matter who they're playing. I don't care if Cooper Flagg's not playing. This Duke team's too good. We saw even without Cooper Flagg and Malik Brown in the ACC tournament, they were able to beat Louisville in that championship game, who was pretty much at full strength, and Duke is missing the best player, going to be the number 1 overall pick in the draft, Cooper Flagg. Yeah, Duke's going to come in and win this game with ease.
Yes.
Now in the 8-9 matchup is between Mississippi State and Baylor, where Mississippi State has looked good in the SEC. They were actually ranked for a little bit towards the end of the season, up in that 20 to 25 range. Then we saw that loss to Arkansas. They didn't look great in the SEC tournament either. I think this Baylor team, they always seem to play better in March. They're still one of the better defenses in college basketball. I think Baylor's going to come in and squeak out a close victory against Mississippi State.
Yeah, Baylor's got VJ Edgecombe. They got Norchet Omier. They got some depth. They got some ballers who can come in and make things happen. When they're aggressive, when they're on the attack, and shots are falling for this Baylor team, they can compete with pretty much anyone in the country, and I think they've proven that this year. I like them to come in and get a dub as the 9.
Agreements, boys. Agreements. They won a couple years back, correct? 21.
Yeah, it was the 21 Baylor team. They're one of the exceptions for the Ken Palm adjusted offense and defense.
There you go. Dreams happen.
Now,
Go Baylor.
Now in the 5-12 matchup, we have the Oregon Ducks and the Conference USA champion Liberty Flames. This is, I think, going to be a really good game. Not only that, I'm going to be taking the money line of the underdog. I'm going to be riding with Liberty, with the Flames, as they are a top 20 team at defending opponent 3-point percentage. They are also a top 30 team in 2-point field goal percentage offensively. They play actually better. I mean, it takes a little bit of a dip when they're on the road, but at neutral sites, it's very similar to when they're at home. They are one of these better 3-point shooting teams in the in the country. We saw it in the Conference USA tournament when they were down by as much as 18 to Kennesaw State. They were able to come back, make a bunch of threes. Saw it again in the championship. They have a team full of sharpshooters. They can trade threes at will. They're good at defending the three. And Oregon just hasn't had a great first year inside the Big Ten. Didn't look good in the Big Ten tournament. I think this is a very good spot for this Liberty Flames team.
Caden, you kind of picked on this Oregon team, and although I'm not an Oregon Ducks fan myself, I do like them to come up and hold off Liberty. I just seen them being able to make the tougher shots, being able to make the clutch pressure free throws and things that are going to happen later down the stretch, and what I do believe is going to be a close matchup as well. Like you said, I wouldn't be surprised if Liberty pulls this one off, but I think Oregon's good enough to get at least 2 wins in the NCAA tournament. They're usually good for that every year.
Yeah, I'm a big Ducks guy. I think they're going to take care of them pretty good here. I think they beat them by more than 10. So, go Ducks.
Ooh, bold prediction by Dwyer over here.
I like it.
First one we've heard of him all pod.
You never know.
Now in the 4-13 matchup, we have the Akron Zips against the Arizona Wildcats in the 4-13. Akron has actually been a very good offensive team this year. And so is Arizona. Arizona is obviously one of these better offensive teams as well. But they just can't shoot the three ball. They are very bad beyond there. Caleb Love, who's one of their best players, is shooting sub 30% from threes, only I think 27, 28% from three on the season. Akron can shoot the ball well. This is a game where I'll be looking at the overs. I don't think I'll touch anything of the spread. I do like looking at the overs here. Both these teams are able to score a lot of points. They also work fast. They're up there in more of the points per possession per game and just possessions in total per game. But even still, we're going to ride with Arizona to get this one done, even though we've seen them choke time in, time out in the tournament.
Yeah, Caden, I think Arizona comes in. Caleb Love's performance in the Big 12 championship was one of the better ones. He made my all-tournament team and was on my ballot. He was also selected across the entire tournament and made the official tournament team. I think that just goes to show you that Arizona gets hot at the right time. They're peaking right when they should. They took Houston to a very close game in that Big 12 championship. And I expect them to carry off that momentum, and this team's going to go as far as Caleb Love takes them. And if that's a first-round victory, so be it. I see them beating Akron.
Boys, I'm taking the upset here. I'm liking Akron. I just
Back to back. Okay, Dwyer.
Something about this Oakland. It reminds me of last year's Oakland. I don't know. Akron. I don't know if it's LeBron James. I don't know what it is. It could be Akron. Akron in 5.
Akron. Next in the 6-11 matchup, we have BYU against VCU, which could actually be a very tough game for BYU, the Cougars, because VCU is one of these better teams. We see them perform in the tournament year in, year out when they make it. But this game is going to be being played at altitude. It's going to be getting played in Denver. BYU is coming from Utah, so they know how to play at altitude. Virginia Commonwealth, they don't. I think that's going to come into effect here. I think that's where BYU is going to be able to come up, kind of rise above the occasion here. That's why they're going to be able to come in. For the main part, I think the altitude is going to play the biggest factor into why BYU comes away with a victory here. Because they are, I know we saw it in the Big 12 tournament, they had that insane three-point shooting game against Iowa State, but they're just not a good three-point shooting team outside of that kind of outlier performance on their season.
Well, Caden, I wouldn't really call that an outlier performance. I just think that they jack up so many shots that their numbers kind of get skewed a little bit within that three-point shooting margin. But yeah, this is a team that's going to live and die by the three-point. Their coach comes in with NBA experience. He brings a very NBA-style offense to the BYU Cougars. And shout out Coach too, because he said I had a good question post game. So got to put that one out there on the pod. I like them. He said they're going to piggyback off the loss in the Big 12 tournament and use it as a learning experience. So I trust them to learn from those mistakes. Hopefully generate good looks, and as long as the three falls, Richie Saunders can come out and put up electric performance. I see them getting the dub.
I'm agreeing with you guys. Give me the Mormons. I think that they're gonna take care of business here in round one.
Yeah, now we have the 3-14 matchup between Wisconsin and Montana. Montana was able to win the Summit League, get their auto bid. I don't think that matters. Wisconsin is one of these better teams in the country. We played in a tough Big Ten this year. Had a John Tonje is one of these better players. We didn't see it in the championship game against Michigan, but this Wisconsin team is good. They're good enough to get a couple victories, I think, in this tournament. I think it should be an easy cruise victory over Montana.
I'm with you, Caden. This Wisconsin team's legit. They had a tough road through the Big Ten. I don't think a 3 seed's, very indicative of just how good this team is and how good they can be. Give me Wisconsin in the landslide.
Agree with you, boys. Go Wisconsin. Go Badgers.
Now in the 7-10 matchup, we have St. Mary's against Vanderbilt, where St. Mary's ended up actually losing to Gonzaga in their conference championship, but they beat them twice in the regular season. They have been ranked in the top 20 throughout the season. They're one of these better teams in the country. They have 2 of the best big men in the country, can get it done in the paint, can get it done defensively and offensively. I think St. Mary's comes in and wins this game actually pretty handily against Vanderbilt.
You know, Caden, I kind of got another upset here that's going to go against yours because I feel like the Vanderbilt Commodores are going to come in here, again, playing in the gauntlet of what is the SEC with some grit, with some hard-nosed fundamentals, and they might just come in and get one off of St. Mary's. I don't know if St. Mary's is going to take Vanderbilt as seriously as they should, and I just have a gut feeling, obviously St. Mary's should win on paper, and they're the better team, but Vanderbilt, I just have a sneaky suspicion that they're one of these teams that comes in and plays well early on the first day.
Caden, I'm with you. St. Mary's all the way, man. All the way. I like the big men. I think it's just going to be domination. Big men seem to do well in these kind of tournaments. You know what I mean? They just...
Oh, I agree. Yes.
So.
Yeah, I agree. It's going to be a big win for St. Mary's in round one. Now our 2-15 matchup is between Alabama and an auto bid getter and Robert Morris. This game, I think Robert Morris might be able to cover the 15, 16 point spread, but that's about it. Alabama, they are one of these better offenses in the league, even though all they do is chuck up threes. And if you find them on a day where they're not making their chucked up threes, it could be a tough situation for them. But in against Robert Morris, I don't see that happening. Roll Tide, they're advancing.
Yeah, I don't know if there's much of a threat that Robert Morris can provide to this Alabama team, who has proven it could bang and it could hang with the biggest and the baddest in the entire country. I think this is a for sure dub.
Now we're going to move on to our last Roll Tide. Now we're going to move over to our last region of the bracket before we get on to the round of 32. And that is the 116 matchup. This is Houston's bracket, and they'll be taking on SIUE. Once again, Houston, they're going to win this game easily. I think that's about all.
Yes.
I will say, I know the starting center for this team. I went to high school with him, and I played a lot of video games growing up with him. But Houston all the way.
I got the personal connection, but they're going to get killed.
He's 7 feet tall.
Oh, damn. Now we have the 8-9 matchup between Gonzaga and Georgia. And I just wish, even more than Louisville, I wish Gonzaga could not have been an 8 seed. Give them a 7 seed so they can go on a run in this tournament. So I think they could, Mark Few and his squad could very well go on a deep run in this tournament if they were not an 8 seed and had to play Houston in the round of 32. I think they're going to handle business against Georgia pretty handily, but I wish they weren't playing Houston in the second round.
You're right, Caden. This is a death trap for Gonzaga because as much as I do like them, and I'm with you on this one, I do see them being Georgia. They have Houston next, and that kind of crushes their season hopes.
I'm with you guys.
Now is the 5-12 matchup between Clemson and McNeese, where McNeese has been hot as of late. They've been playing good offensively. I just don't think they're going to be able to handle Clemson, who is the 24th Ken Palm adjusted offense and 16th defense. I think they were one of these more better teams in the country. They were one of the 3 ACC teams to get a bid into the tourney. I think they just handle business in round 1.
Clemson go bang, Caden. They are really good on offense and defense. they can beat you in multiple different facets. They're gritty. They find ways to win games. And I think in the NCAA tournament, that's what's going to favor you the most above everything else, finding a way to get scrappy dubs, and I see them doing the same over McNeese.
I will be taking McNeese in this one. I think they're riding high, riding hot, and I think this is going to be one of those upsets. It's like, whoa, okay, So McNeese out of the way.
So now we have the 4-13 matchup between Purdue and High Point. And what did I tell you guys before we started this? In 29 of the 39 tournaments, a 13 seed has won a round one game. And a top 4 seed has lost in the first round 5 straight years. This is going to be that matchup. Purdue is going to lose to High Point, as High Point is top 20 in the country in 2-point field goal percentage. Purdue is actually even worse than 250th in the country in defending 2-point field goals. So an opponent 2-point field goal percentage allowed. They're a Swiss cheese defense down low in the paint. High Point's able to get in there, get out, get some quick, easy buckets, put up points in this one. And Purdue's not the same team we've seen in recent years. They had Zach Edey, don't need more, and they just haven't been as good this year. They didn't look good in conference play in the Big Ten, lost some bad games there. High Point is the better offense, and their defense is able to stack up against some of these bigger schools as well. They're able to limit some of the 3 ball. They play good inside the paint and inside the 3-point line defensively. I think this is the 13-4 upset we are going to see this year. I think this is the highest seeded upset we are going to see this year. Give me High Point over Purdue.
Caden, you were very passionate, and you brought out all the statistics and the factors and everything on this one. Kudos to you for bringing that up, but I just don't think High Point's going to beat Purdue. I really don't. I understand the stats and the metrics and everything you just preached, but just what the eye test says, give me Purdue.
Boilermakers by 100. Let's go. We're going. We're rolling.
No, come on. By 100, Dwyer?
By 100. Take the spread. Y'all.
So now in this 6-11 matchup, we have Illinois against the winner of Texas Xavier, which we will be seeing later tonight. And so I don't actually really have a pick yet for this game, as if Xavier, who is a slight favorite over Texas right now tonight, if they end up winning this game, I'm going to have Xavier advancing over Illinois. So I think they're a better team offensively and defensively than Illinois. Illinois is also dealing with some injuries. But if Texas ends up actually beating Xavier tonight, I will have Illinois advancing over Texas, over my Longhorns, as Texas just isn't that good of a basketball team besides Trey Johnson, who's a dog. They're just not that good. So if Texas wins, I will be taking Illinois. But if Xavier wins, I'll be taking Xavier to advance over Illinois.
Regardless of the outcome of the preliminary matchup into this one, Caden, I do feel an 11-6 upset happening. Contrary to as much as you dog on your Texas Longhorns, they kind of made a splash. They made a little bit of a wave there in that SEC tournament. And I think that confidence, if it shows up again, if they play, aggressive towards the cup, towards the bucket, I think they can carry that momentum over into making a first-round upset over Illinois.
I will be taking Illinois in this one, boys. They made a run.
Of course you will. You in your home state.
I'm from Indiana, so I don't know what you're talking
about.
Oh,
whatever. You're 20 minutes away from Chicago.
Anyways, they made a run last year, and I think they get by this first round here. No upset for Illinois.
Now we have our next 3-14 matchup between Kentucky and Troy. This is another game which I think will be very close. Troy was able to come in, win the Sun Belt, look very good. This is a game where I don't see Kentucky blowing them out by any means. I see this definitely being a single-digit victory for Kentucky. I think it's going to be closer on. They're only going to eke by a victory over Troy in this first round.
Yeah, credit to Troy and what they've been able to accomplish and do this season, but I think the road ends here and Kentucky's going to advance.
I've seen a lot of hate for Kentucky lately. I saw ESPN put out a post like, "Oh, Kentucky lost every time it's a top 3 seed." It's not happening again. This is Kentucky's year. Let me tell you, it's Kentucky's year.
No.
Kentucky here.
We don't think we see another Oakland game like we saw last year.
That's what Akron is. Kentucky by 50.
Now in our 7-10 matchup, it's UCLA against Utah State. And this is another 7-10 upset that I have happening. I think Utah State, I think the Aggies are the better team. UCLA hasn't looked that good offensively. recently down the stretch. Utah State has been, I think, playing some of their better basketball of the season. I think they come in and get this victory over UCLA.
Caden, we talked about it last week. I like this Utah State team to come in and potentially compete for that Mountain West title. Ultimately, that didn't happen, but that doesn't change the fact that they've been heating up at the right time. They've been doing the right things. I like them as well to come and upset the 7 UCLA Bruins.
I'm with you, boys. 10 seed over the 7 here. I feel like we're taking that a lot, but yeah, I'm going Utah.
Now, our last matchup in the round of 64 is the 2 seed Tennessee Volunteers against the 15 seed Wofford. Tennessee, they have one of the best defenses in the league. They're also a good offensive team. Just give me Tennessee with the points as well. I think this is going to be a nice, easy, clean victory for the Volunteers.
Most definitely, Caden. This Volunteers team, although they've had some struggling and disappointing losses this season, they're still legit. They still can compete with anybody in this tournament, and I think this is a easy cleanup first round adjustment for them.
All the way.
Okay, so now we are going to get back. We're going to go into the round of 32 now. Some of these picks are going to go a little quicker as we've already kind of discussed the teams, what we think about them. Might be a little more out. We're still going to obviously discuss it, but it might just go a little quicker now. Now we have back up in the South region, so Auburn's region. They are going to be faced off against, in my bracket, Louisville in the round of 32. I see Auburn advancing, even though they've been looking not great lately. They still have Joni Broom as one of the best players in the country. I think he's going to be able to lead them to a nice, clean victory over Louisville.
Yeah, Caden, hit the nail on the head with this one. Auburn's a top team in the country for a reason. They're no joke. They're going to come in and handle business.
I'm taking the upset here, boys. Louisville's going to upset Auburn here. First one seed's going to go down in my book. So, go Louisville.
What's the reasoning?
Just something's in the air for the Cardinals. I saw you last year get screwed by Auburn. So
I did.
I can see it happening again. So go Louisville.
Now the next matchup is I have it as the 12 seed UC San Diego taking on the 4 seed Texas A&M. As much as I like this UC San Diego team, and I could possibly see an upset brewing here, I could see possibly UC San Diego breaching the Sweet 16. I don't think it happens. I think the defense of Texas A&M is going to be able to counteract the offense of UC San Diego, and that's where Texas A&M is going to reign supreme in this game and come out with the victory.
I've already said it, but give me the Aggies. They're going on to the Sweet 16, and I like them as a team as a whole over UC San Diego, who made a good upset in the first round. Congratulations.
Texas A&M here taking down Michigan in my bracket. Go Texas.
Now we have, in my bracket, it's the 3 seed Iowa State facing off against the 11 seed North Carolina. While I think North Carolina is playing good basketball right now and one of the playing hot as one of the better teams right now, Iowa State is one of the best teams in the country. If it weren't for the injuries they're dealing with, I could see me having them going a lot farther in the bracket than I do. But even still, I do have them advancing to the Sweet 16 with a win over UNC North Carolina.
Yeah, I have it as Ole Miss, Iowa State in my bracket, Cade. But I do think we finally see some fatigue, some drought from Iowa State Cyclones. We saw it in the Big 12 tournament. Sometimes it's a one-man show, and when you don't have a supporting cast step up and helping your best players, it's easy to fall behind. And for whatever reason, Ole Miss is just the team I think can get dirty, can get hot, and make it to the Sweet 16.
Yeah, I got Iowa State over North Carolina here. I think they're a good squad. They always are.
Yeah. And now the last round of 32 matchup in this region is the number 2 seed Michigan State against number 10 seed New Mexico. And I think New Mexico, while they are one of these better teams, I like what they're able to do in the paint. I think Michigan State is just one of these better teams in the country, even though they are outside. This is one crazy thing with them that I think could hurt them. They are outside the top 300 in the country in three-point shooting. So that's not good to see. They're a very good 2-point team, but they are horrendous from 3. Even still, I see them beating New Mexico in this round of 32 matchup.
I think they're going to overwhelm New Mexico. I think they're just a better team, point blank, period, Caden. And when you start getting to these later games in March, I think, less and less upsets and good teams start to matter, and I think it comes down to who is the actual best ball club. And I'm going to go ahead and have Michigan State advancing.
You guys smell that? I smell upside in the hands. I'm going New Mexico. I'm going New Mexico on this one. Something about this team, man. It's special. It's special.
Just like Louisville.
Michigan State. I don't like the 3-point scares me. You know what I mean? Just like Louisville. You know what I mean? But like New Mexico, something's brewing there in New Mexico University. So we're going to 10 seed taking down the 2 seed Michigan State. Gotta get gutsy here, man. It's March.
Oh, yeah.
It's madness for a reason.
Oh, yeah. Now we're going to move on to the West region, Florida's region, where they'll be taking on UConn in my bracket in this round of 32 team. And even though UConn's the back-to-back defending champs, I think Florida and company rolls right through them.
Yeah, this Florida team's dirty, Caden. They won the gauntlet of the SEC for a reason. They rose to the top in a pack of dogs, and I think they're going to feast upon the UConn Huskies.
I 100% agree. Go Gators. Tim Tebow.
Now, and I think all of our brackets, we have the 4-12 matchup with the Colorado State Rams and the Maryland Terrapins. Well, I know I said Maryland has no bench. The starting five is also no bench, and Colorado State's playing some of their best basketball. I think that Colorado State playing their best basketball, all that means is a round one victory over Memphis. I don't really see them coming in and being able to beat this Maryland squad, even if some of their starters are having some of the best games. I still think they're just a better overall squad than Colorado State. So I have Maryland advancing to the Sweet 16 to face Florida. Sorry, your screen might look a little different now. We have some technical difficulties. Now we got our boy Dwyer in the middle instead of Mex. Not going to change anything. We still got Mex going next with his pick in this Colorado State-Maryland matchup.
Yeah, Caden, this is where Colorado State gets bounced. They get wiped. That's all they wrote for their season. In typical Colorado State fashion, they ain't moving on past Maryland. This team's too good. They're better, and they're nasty. Give me the Terrapins.
With your boys, Maryland all the way.
Now we see on my bracket, I have the number 6 seed Missouri facing off against the number 3 seed Texas Tech. And I have Missouri actually advancing in this round against Texas Tech. They've had kind of an up and down season, but also that they're playing in the SEC, so they have one of the toughest schedules in the country. But even with that, they have wins at Florida, home against Ole Miss, at Mississippi State, home against Bama, neutral against Mississippi State, and home against Georgia. They have 7 quad 1 wins on the season. They're 3-0 in quad 2, 4-0 quad 3, and 8-0 quad 4. I think they are one of these better teams in the country. We've seen it like that game when they were able to win at Auburn. Their offense is able to explode for flurries of points, and I think that's what we see happening against a team like Texas Tech, who's also very good offensively. But I think Missouri's going to be able to outpace them offensively in this one to get the victory.
Caden, we have another disagreement here. In my bracket, it's number 11 Drake and number 3 Texas Tech. And I think this is a matchup that favors Texas Tech heavily. They should come out JT Toppin. They should dominate. They should take care of business. And I see them making it to the Sweet 16.
I'm with you here. I had Drake and Texas Tech. I'm taking Texas Tech here. Easy one.
Yeah, let's see. If I had Drake advancing, I would agree. But I think if Missouri beats Drake on Thursday and come the round of 32, they're able to come in and beat Texas Tech. Now, our last round of 32 matchup in this region, we have the number 7 seed Kansas Jayhawks facing off against the number 2 seed St. John Red Storm. And like I said before, I think St. John's is one of these like top 5 teams in the country. I think they're going to come in. This isn't the same Kansas squad we're used to seeing, even with Bill Self as the coach. This team just isn't that great. I'm riding with the Red Storm. Give me St. John's to advance pretty easily in this round of 32 matchup.
Caden, this Kansas team still has KJ Adams. They still have Hunter Dickinson. And I think for whatever reason they come out and they put on an absolutely banger performance against a better team in St. John's. And I think this is where we actually see an upset. I have number 7 Kansas beating number 2 St. John's to advance to the Sweet 16.
Oh, okay.
In my bracket, I have Arkansas and St. John's, but I have Calipari's Magic running out here in the second.
You had him against Kansas. That was it.
St. John's by a million.
Can't have more than one 10 seed advancing to the Sweet 16.
No.
Now let's get over to the eastern region of this bracket. This is Duke's side of the bracket, where they'll be facing on my bracket Baylor in round one. I'd like Baylor. I think they are one of these better Big 12 teams we've seen. But I think Duke is kind of like Florida, one of these top 3 teams in the country. So give me Duke. Even if Cooper Flag isn't back by this game, by this round of 32 matchup, I still think they're going to be able to come in. They're still have players like Tyrese Proctor who are able to provide you a lot offensively, and they're still one of these top defenses, even if it does take a hit without Malachi Brown, who's going to be out for the whole tournament, and even without Cooper Flag. Even if Flag plays, I think they win by even more. Even without Flag, I still think it's a good, handily victory for the Duke Blue Devils.
I like this Baylor team. I respect the players they have. I respect what they've been able to do in the Big 12. They're not competing with Duke. Duke should mop them. They should clean them up regardless of who's playing. This should be an easy dub.
All the way.
Duke all the way?
By 300. Let's roll.
Okay, next matchup on my bracket. I have the number 12 seed Liberty Flames facing off against the number 4 seed Arizona Wildcats. And once again, I'm going to go back to the notes about what I told you guys before the start of this tournament. Before the start of us going through the bracket. In 37 of the 39 tournaments and 16 of the last 16 tournaments, a double-digit seed has reached the Sweet 16. I don't believe much in this Arizona team. They're a very wishy-washy team. If you're relying on someone like Caleb Love, you could get bounced first round. You could even make a run. But relying on someone like him isn't good for your team. They don't have the supporting cast to bounce back on if Caleb Love's having an off night. They're a very bad three-point shooting team, while Liberty is amazing at guarding the three, one of the top 20 defenses in the country at guarding three. They're also able to drain a lot of threes. Give me the Liberty Flames as the 12 seed advancing to the Sweet 16.
Yeah, Caden, you're really bold on that one. As I stated last round, I do have Oregon actually making it against Arizona. And with that matchup, as long as it's Oregon, I do think it favors Arizona better. Again, I'm kind of putting a lot in the basket of Caleb Love. That could come back to bite me, and it very well may. But until that happens, I'm just going to have to go ahead and say give me Arizona over Oregon.
Now, Kate, I believe you mentioned a statistic about 13 seeds getting past the first round. And in this matchup, I have Oregon and Akron. And I'm feeling the prayer. I feel like in Akron, Ohio, this is the team. This is the team that's going to do it. Past the second round and face Duke in the Sweet 16. So give me Akron, baby.
So right now you have an 8 seed, a 10 seed, and a 13 seed all in your Sweet 16.
We're rolling.
Okay. Next matchup, the one I have on my bracket, is the 6 seed BYU Cougars against the 3 seed Wisconsin Badgers. And even though, while I think it's going to be beneficial to them against VCU being able to play at altitude in Denver, I don't think that's going to matter against a Wisconsin team that is, I think, just a better overall team. When you look at Wisconsin, they are 13th overall in Ken Palm adjusted offense and 27th in defense, compared to BYU being 11th in offense and 68th in defense. Both of those, they're about the same in offensive rating, but they are a lot worse defensively. I think that's going to come back to bite them in this matchup, and that's where Wisconsin's going to be able to shine and come in here and get that victory.
Yeah, the Mormons got smacked up on by the Houston Cougars in the Big 12 semifinals and got sent home. Even though our good friend Caden did not want to listen to me, I told him do not bet the Mormons to win. He was riding hot with the Mormons. But this is where you should ride hot with the Mormons, Caden. You rode on the Mormons at the wrong time, and now you're jumping off the train too early. I think they're going to come in. They're going to upset. They're going to shoot the 3-ball hot, Caden, and that's what's going to carry the Mormons off this run. Now, if they go cold and they suck from the 3, then disregard everything I've said because they're not even going to be this far anyway. But I like Richie Saunders. I like the Mormons. I think they're going to make it happen on this run.
I'm taking the Badgers over the Mormons here. I have too many. I have too many underdogs. So we're going with Wisconsin.
Yeah, Dwyer, you might have too many. I don't think I have enough yet. We have the 7-2 matchup between St. Mary's and Alabama. I'm riding with St. Mary's, with the Gales, to come in and get this victory over Alabama, where I think St. Mary's is going to be able to shine in the paint as they have two of the better big men in the sport, in all of college basketball. And Alabama, they're so reliant on the three. Even if you're just having a little bit of an off night, I think St. Mary's is going to be able to do enough defensively as they are one of these better defensive teams in the country. I think St. Mary's Mill, yeah, they are the eighth ranked defense according to Ken Palm adjusted offense. That is uh, obviously top 10. Then you look at someone like Alabama, 32nd ranked defense to fourth ranked offense. Obviously, their offense is great, but I don't see them being able to stroke the three night in, night out, and be able to have a very efficient night from beyond the arc against the St. Mary's defense. I think the Gales are going to be riding high into the Sweet 16.
Yeah, Caden, we have it a little bit different here. I obviously said Vanderbilt was going to get the upset in advance, and in that circumstance, Alabama should take care of business pretty handily, and I think this sets up Alabama in the Sweet 16. We saw how they were able to finish out their year in the regular season and saw how streaky they could be. They can compete against some good teams, and I just don't see them getting knocked out in the round of 32 like you do.
I'm going with the Tide here, boys. I think the ending of their year, finishing, getting streaky. I think they're going to get streaky in the right time. So, give me Bama. Roll Tide.
I don't think you want to be streaky in March, Dwyer. I think you'd rather be hot than streaky.
Hey, you only need to win, what, 6 games? 7 games?
Okay, now we're going to move on to our last region for the round of 32. This is Houston's region where they're going to be facing, I think, in all of our brackets, Gonzaga in the round of 32. And unlike you, where you have the Louisville upsetting Auburn, I don't have Gonzaga upsetting Houston, but I wouldn't be shocked if Gonzaga comes in and upsets Houston in this game. I think this is going to be a very close kind of 1-2 possession game, like the whole game. But I do have Houston edging it out at the end and getting the victory.
This Houston team knows how to make it miserable on offense. I mean, we saw what they were able to do against BYU. It took about 10 minutes of game time before BYU was able to get their first bucket on the board. I mean, that just shows you how dominant this defense can be, how ruthless they can be. When they get a grip around your throat, they do not let go. Give me Houston Cougars.
I like that explanation. That's why I'm going to Houston. Give me Houston.
Now we have the next matchup. I have the 5 seed Clemson against the 13 seed High Point. I know you guys are riding your Boilermakers. I'm loving my High Point, but I think this is where their magic runs out. I think they get the one win and then lose to Clemson. Clemson's the better team. They were a better team than Purdue. I don't really know if Purdue got a higher seed than them per se. I think Clemson's one of these better teams we've seen, obviously from a Power Four conference in the ACC. I think they get it done against High Point in the round of 32 to take on Houston in the Sweet 16.
Sorry. Yes, I do agree with everything you said, Caden. I think based upon the defense and offense capabilities of this Clemson team, they come out and get the dub over Purdue, who I have in this matchup.
I have McNeese and Purdue, and I'm going Purdue. I think McNeese their luck runs out. Give me the Boilermakers. And a close one, though.
Now, in this next matchup is still, I guess, unset for me, as I will either be having Illinois or Xavier, depending on who wins that Texas Xavier game tonight, as you guys are watching this, as this comes out. But even then, I think if Xavier ends up beating Illinois, I have them beating Kentucky. And if I have Illinois advancing over Texas, I have Illinois beating Kentucky. I don't think Kentucky makes it past the round at 32 here. I think they're going to lose to whether it be Xavier or Illinois, either one of those two teams. I have them advancing over Kentucky.
I also have Kentucky going down here, Caden. In my bracket, it's filled out as either Texas or Xavier. Now I do prefer that is Xavier. I think Xavier has the capabilities to come out and get this Kentucky upset. Now, that's not saying that Texas can't come get it done now, too, Caden. You dogged on your Longhorns, and they've sucked, but they can come out and get it done.
One more time for us.
That cut out again.
How about you, Dwight? Who are you in this matchup?
I'm taking Kentucky here. You guys are hating on the 3 seed Kentucky. I think they've been upset too many years in a row and just been knocked out too early. I think they're making a run this year. A long run. A long run. So,
Wow. Okay. Well, our last round of 32 matchup we have here is between the 10 seed Utah State Aggies and the 2 seed Tennessee Volunteers. I think this just kind of throttling Tennessee defense we have with the Volunteers is going to be able to propel them to a clean and easy victory over Utah State and the Aggies.
I think Tennessee comes out and
You
gets a
said
dub over Utah State, who is in my bracket as the team that advanced. I think Utah State has had a very fantastic season, and I think it says a lot about them being a 10 seed, being able to make it to the round of 32 in my bracket. But the run stops there, and Tennessee's going to make it onto the Sweet 16.
Me too, Rocky Top, baby. Tennessee all the way.
Now we are into the Sweet 16. One of the best. I mean, you have the awesome first weekend where you have the round of 64, round of 32 all in a 4-day span. This next weekend with the Sweet 16 Elite 8 is still amazing basketball starting off. Back to the South region. I have it as Auburn and Texas A&M in the Sweet 16 matchup. And this is where I think Auburn does go down. We've seen Auburn have some bad losses this year. They have, and then we've seen Texas A&M. They have one of the best defenses to go along with a good offense. I think Texas A&M is going to be able to show enough in this game to be able to get. I think they're going to be able to slow down Johnny Broome and company throughout this game. And they already have a win against Auburn this year, and I think they make it a second win against Auburn in this Sweet 16 matchup.
Caden, I think it's hard to beat a team twice. I think Auburn's going to learn from their mistakes. They're going to make the proper adjustments, and they're going to come back and they're going to get Texas A&M when it matters most. And I see them go to the Elite Eight.
I have Louisville, Texas A&M, and I'm taking A&M. I like the defense, and I don't think Louisville's making it further than that.
Now, the other matchup in this region for the Sweet 16 on my bracket is the 3-seeded Iowa State Cyclones and the number 2-seeded Michigan State Spartans. If Iowa State wasn't injured, I could definitely see them not only advancing this, but beating A&M and being a Final Four team. But because of the injuries we're seeing out of Iowa State, this is where I think their luck runs out. Even with Michigan State being so horrendous from three, being outside, like I said, outside the top 300 in 3-point shooting in the country. That is awful. That is not what you want to see. But I still think they're going to be able to do enough in the paint, on the free throw line and defense, so we'll be able to slow down this Iowa State offense enough and be able to get the victory to advance to the Elite Eight.
Caden, I have it Ole Miss, as like I said, making an upset run into the Sweet 16. But I do think the buck stops there for them. Michigan State's going to be too good. They're too better. They're more dominant in the paint, and they make the high, efficient shots, and they do it at a good clip as well. Give me them to knock off the Rebels and advance to the Elite Eight.
Like you said, Caden, Iowa State's injured. That's why I love myself some New Mexico making it past the Sweet 16 here.
Oh, wow.
I think it's going to be a crazy one. I think this is the team. This is the Cinderella team. I really believe in my New Mexico. I don't even know what they are.
Lobos.
But,
Lobos.
Lobos? Go Lobos, baby.
Yep. Okay. Big upset there for Dwyer. He's got these Lobos going far. Let's hope they don't, lose in the first round. Even as they are an underdog in round one. Don't forget about that.
We'll be betting them heavily, boys.
Roll over.
Now let's get over to the Western region. Now we get over to or just take them to reach the Final Four if Dwyer has them going to the Final Four. That's some pretty good odds right there. But now we're going to move on to our next matchup here in the Sweet 16, which on my bracket is the number 1 seed Florida Gators against the number 4 seed Maryland Terrapins. And this is where I think the lack of bench for Maryland catches up to them. The starting five is great. They have no one else on that team in the next couple players on that roster. Now, there's no way your starting lineup to be able to play all 40 minutes against a team like Florida, which is bruising you in the paint, playing one of the best defenses in the paint. That they're going to have to go to their subpar bench players. I think that's what kills them. I have Florida advancing to the Elite Eight.
Yeah, Caden, this Maryland team's going to give everything they got, and I wouldn't be surprised if they were able to pull off the upset against Florida. But for all the reasons you described, they just are shorthanded when you compare the rosters. When you look up the bench and you start factoring in who's going to step up and play the important minutes in the clutch, Florida's the better team. They've played the tougher opponents. They've been in those big moments already, and I see them advancing on.
I'm with Florida, boys. Go Gators.
Now I have it as my other Sweet 16 matchup here between the number 6 seed Missouri Tigers, and the number 2 seed St. John's Red Storm. Once again, I'm riding with Rick Pitino and St. John's. I keep saying, I think they're one of the top 5 teams in the country. I think they're going to be able to come in, be able to shut down this Missouri offense. It kind of cruised like a 8 to 12 point victory in the Sweet 16 matchup.
I have it a little different than you guys. I have Texas Tech at number 3, facing off against the Kansas Jayhawks. Battle of the Big 12 teams, and I think ultimately Texas Tech gets it done. They should handle business. And I see, again, JT Toppin being the reason behind that, them coming out and out physically in Kansas and just using their size to the advantage, and ultimately ending Kansas's dreams of national title.
Kansas? Oh, yeah, you have Kansas beating St. John's.
Correct.
I think Mex has been watching a little too much Big 12 basketball lately. I think going to that tournament kind of fried his mind a little bit.
No.
Maybe it fried mine too, because I'm taking Texas Tech over St. John's here. I just think their time's up, man. Their time's up. Go Texas Tech.
You guys were staring at that ugly ass gray court for too long. Started messing with your brain cells. Now we're gonna get over to the East region, where I have it in my matchup as the number 1 seed Duke against the 12 seed Liberty Flames. And as much as I love this Flames team, they're not beating Duke. By this time, you would assume Cooper Flagg is back from his ankle injury. Even still, I think Duke wins this. One of the best offenses, one of the best defenses. Obviously, they both take a dip without Flagg, but they have other players. I think they'll be able to come in and get the victory over Liberty in the Sweet 16.
Okay, and I have Zona here at the 4 coming in, but no matter who it is, Duke's winning.
So I have Duke Akron, boys.
Oh
I'm
no,
not feeling
Dwight.
that frisky. I'm not that frisky. I'm going Duke all the way. Akron had their time. It's ending here, though.
Okay, now for my other matchup in the Sweet 16, I have the number 3 seed Wisconsin Badgers against the 7 seed St. Mary's Gales. And as high as you are on New Mexico, Dwyer, that's me with St. Mary's. I think after they go in and beat Alabama round 2, they're going to be able to come in here and beat Wisconsin in the Sweet 16. I think they're going to be able to shut down Tonje. I think they're going to be able to score a lot of points in the paint, be able to play a top 10 defense in the country and shut down this Badgers offense and come in here with a low scoring and close but a victory nonetheless for the Gales.
I have it as Bama versus BYU, Caden, and although the Stormin' Mormons would have stormed their way into a Sweet 16 appearance, I think the buck stops there. They're going to run out of that three-point magic. And when you are a team that relies so heavily on the three-point shooting, ultimately you're going to have one of those bad games, and I think the bad game's going to come against Alabama, who's going to force them to play bad.
I'm personally an Alabama guy, and I think they're beating Wisconsin here to advance.
Okay, now we'll go over to our last side of the bracket for the Sweet 16, where I have it as the 1-seeded Houston Cougars going against the 5-seed Clemson Tigers. And I think Houston, with how good their defense is, kind of like what I think we're going to see in that St. Mary's Wisconsin game, of a very low-scoring affair. I think that's what we're going to see in this Houston-Clemson game, but with Houston inevitably coming out on top.
100% agree with you, Caden.
Same here. I have Houston over Purdue, but Houston's winning this one.
Now, our last Sweet 16 matchup here, I have it as either Xavier or Illinois. Like I keep saying, depending on what happens in tonight's game between Texas and Xavier. And I have them face off against the Tennessee Volunteers. We're kind of like in that Houston-Clemson game. I think the defense of Tennessee is going to be able to kind of suffocate either Xavier or Illinois, depending on who they play. I think if it is Illinois, if Texas beats Xavier tonight, I think Illinois, that's where the injuries are really going to start to hurt them, and Tennessee's going to be able to kind of cruise to a victory in this matchup.
I 100% agree with you, Caden. I have it as upset row, and as always, we talked about with these upset teams, they are able to win a couple. But once you get down to the Sweet 16, the teams that qualify to the Elite Eight are the best of the best. You have to be premier, and I don't see Tennessee losing.
Yeah, I have Kentucky, Tennessee here, and originally I was thinking because Kentucky did beat Tennessee earlier in the year, but as mentioned earlier in the podcast, it's hard to beat a team twice, so I'm going Tennessee here.
Okay, we're on to the Elite Eight now. Only a couple games left before we reveal to you all who our national champions are. Thank you all for listening so far to the Untouchaballs podcast. I know we've been keeping you guys for a while here. Thank you for listening. If you made it this far, make sure to like the video, leave a comment as we get into the Elite Eight here now.
Yeah.
So starting off with the Elite Eight in this first matchup in the South region, I have the 4-seeded Texas A&M Aggies against the 2-seed Michigan State Spartans. And I'm very torn on this game as I don't know how long Michigan State can get away with not being able to make a three to save their life. Both are very good defenses. I think the only thing, like, I'm going to be picking Michigan State to move on in this matchup. More so, not that I think Michigan State is going to be able to pull out a win over Texas A&M. More so that I think Auburn could end up beating Texas A&M earlier in this bracket, and I would rather see Michigan State going further than A&M because I believe in their not only their side of the bracket, not facing Auburn until the Elite Eight, but also even if they do end up playing Texas A&M, I think they could be able to get it done in the paint and with the 2-ball.
Yeah, I have it as number 1 seed Auburn, Caden. I don't think they get bounced in the Sweet 16, but I do think this is where they get bounced. I like Michigan State. I think they have a favorable matchup against Auburn, and I think the way they're feisty and find a way to grind it out, that they come out and make Auburn uncomfortable enough to bring it down to a wire and snag a victory as the 2.
I have A&M in New Mexico, and I love myself the Locos, but they're going down against A&M. The dream's over for the Locos.
The Lobos.
Oh, Lobos. Go Lobos.
Now in the Western region, I have the Florida Gators facing off with the St. John's Red Storm, and I wish St. John's was either in the Auburn bracket or the Houston bracket, because I would have them advancing to the Final Four if they're in one of those two regions. But they're not. They're facing against Florida, who I just think is a better team offensively and very comparable, if not maybe a little better defensively. I'm riding with the Gators to go in and advance to the Final Four for a matchup against Michigan State.
I got the Gators facing off against Texas Tech. And as much as my heart wants me to ride with Texas Tech, I've seen this team, collapse at the worst times. They've proven they are beatable, Caden. There's a reason why they are a 3 and not a top 2 seed, especially within that poor finish in the Big 12 tournament. I just see Florida being too much and too overwhelming for Tech, and Florida's going to advance.
Give me Florida, baby. Go Gators.
Now in the Eastern region, I have it obviously different than you guys, as I have the 7-seed St. Mary's Gales going on to be facing the number 1 seed Duke Blue Devils. And by now, you would assume Cooper Flagg is back. If he's not, there's something wrong with his ankles, and that's hurting his draft stock a lot. But by now, that's 2.5 weeks from now, so it'll be like 3.5 weeks since he went down with that ankle injury. He should be back, even if not once again. This Duke team is one of the best in the country for a reason. Give me them to advance to the Final Four over St. Mary's.
I have it Bama, Caden, but either way you ride it, Duke's moving on.
Same here. Duke over Bama. Sorry, Tide.
So now in the Midwest region, I have it as the 1-seeded Houston Cougars face off against the 2-seed Tennessee Volunteers. And while I think both teams are very, very elite defensively, as you have Houston as the second-ranked defense in the country and Tennessee is the third-ranked defense in the country. So 2 top 3 defenses are going to be facing off. I think this is going to be a low-scoring, kind of grinded-out, gutted-out affair. I do think I'm going to be riding more with the Tennessee, with the Volunteers here, because I think they have a little more oomph when it comes to that offensive prowess at the scoring ability. I think they're going to be able to edge out a very, I don't think a team gets above 65 points in this game, but I think Tennessee will be the one with the lead at the end of when the shot clock hits 0.
Okay, now I have Houston beating the Tennessee Volunteers, and I think Milos Uzan's going to have to come out and have a phenomenal game if that's going to happen. But then you also look at, players like Emmanuel Sharp who are going to come out and be able to hit the 3 ball. If his shot's falling, if he adds that consistent offensive weapon for the Cougars, no one's going to want to see this team. I got them moving on and beating Tennessee.
I'm taking Tennessee over Houston here with all the reasons Caden said. Go Rocky Top, baby.
Now we are into our final four. I have it as 2 1 seeds and 2 2 seeds. What are your guys' seeds that we have in the final four here?
Yeah, I got 3-1 seeds in Florida, Duke, and Houston, and then Michigan State as a 2, weaseling their way in.
I have the 2-1 seeds in Florida and Duke, and a 2 seed in Tennessee, and a 4 seed in Texas A&M.
Okay, so none of us have all 4 1 seeds. As like we said at the start of this podcast, that has only happened once all time, and that was all the way back in 2008. So none of us believe that trend will shift, and we'll see another kind of year like that. So in this final four, where I have the number 2 seed Michigan State face off against the 1 seed Florida Gators, this is if it doesn't happen in the Elite Eight against Texas A&M, this is where the lack of 3-point shooting is going to come back to haunt Michigan State. They're not going to be able to keep up with the pace of this Florida offense, who can get it done in the paint, get it done from long range, and they have a top 5 defense in the country. They're going to be able to shut down this Michigan State, even though they are elite from 2. They're going to be able to stop you, shut you down. That they're just not going to be ready for what this Florida team brings, and Florida's going to win this game, I think, pretty handily.
Ken, I have it the same way you have it coming down to this contest, but you've been high on this Michigan State team, and so am I. I do think they still have the potential, even with the lack of 3-point shooting. If they can, hold down the fort defensively against Florida, they can make this game very close. But it's not going to be enough. The Gators are the better, stronger, faster, physicaler team, and it's their moment, and they're going to punch their ticket to the national championship game.
Well, I got Florida beating A&M, so go Gators, I guess, right?
Hey, we're all riding the Gators, okay. And now for our other Final Four matchup, I have it, me and Dwyer both have it as the Duke Blue Devils against the Tennessee Volunteers. I'm going to say it again. Cooper Flag should be back by this game. And if he is, give me, and I'm doing this assuming he is, because if he's not, I think Tennessee has a very good shot in this game. But I'm doing this on the basis that I'm going to assume by now, a month later, Cooper Flag is going to be back. Give me the Duke Blue Devils to advance to the national championship to face off against the Florida Gators.
Caden, we have a little bit of a disagreement as I have Houston in this spot. Now, this is where I get bold. This is where I come out and say it. Duke's going down to the Houston Cougars in the Final Four, Caden. This is finally the year the Houston Cougars are going to break through. I'm telling you, they're going to make it to the championship this year behind their great defense, behind, Tugler, behind, LJ Cryer. I've already named so many of the phenomenal players on this team. I believe it. Defense wins championships, and they're going to be, stifling down, playing the better D, and hitting the shots in the clutch when it matters. Give me the Houston Cougars over Duke, in which I think will be one of the games of the year.
Dwyer, before you go, I do have something to say here. If Houston does beat Tennessee in the Elite Eight, I could very well see this happening, as the Final Four and the championship are actually going to be being played in Texas. So we're going to see a little more of a home kind of court advantage for Houston. So if they're able to make it to the Final Four, I could very well see them overtaking Duke in this game. But as I do have Tennessee beating Houston in the Elite Eight, I think Duke is able to overcome the Volunteers.
Well, Caden, you said Cooper Flag should be back within this month time. I think he might come back, and he might get hurt again. Hey, you never know, So I'm taking Tennessee here.
We don't need to wish that on anyone.
Yeah,
we don't need to wish that on anyone. That is wild.
It could happen.
We at the Untouchaballs podcast do not prey on injuries, all right? Get this guy.
He's still new. He doesn't know that.
Oh, no. It's just, hey, his ankle's going to be weaker than it normally is, So maybe I think Tennessee here is going to take the Devils down here, the Blue Devils, and upset Duke. And I think they're gonna take them down. Like, I think this is gonna be a game where it's just like, what? So give me Tennessee, baby.
Okay. National championship time. Our pick for who we have winning the whole damn thing. Who's gonna come out of this and be cutting down the nets at the start of April? My matchup is 2-1 seeds between the Florida Gators and the Duke Blue Devils. And I think even with Cooper Flag, with Tyrese Proctor and company, I think Florida is the best team in the country. I think what they're able to do on the offensive end of the court and on the defensive end, I think they are one of the best, well coached teams in the country. But I think Florida and the Gators, they're going to be cutting the nets down in April. I think see them beating Duke, being able to limit the offensive production of Cooper Fleck and Tyrese Proctor, where Florida's going to come out. I don't really think this will be as much of a low scoring game as like that Houston Tennessee game. Even though these are two of the best defenses in the country, I think we're going to see the offense shine more. And with the offense shining more, I think the Gators are going to be able to come out on top. Give me a 77-70 Florida Gators victory over Duke in the championship.
Woo, Caden, I'm glad you gave this Florida team their due diligence, and I'm glad you've talked them up the way you have, because they are legit. They are fierce. They are everything you want in a basketball team. But they are not beating the Houston Cougars this year, Caden. The Houston Cougars are going to go all the way. They're going to make it happen. They're getting this chip, and this is why. Coach Calvin Sampson, when they came up to media day after their first W, do you know what they wanted to talk about, Caden? Nothing. They didn't want to say anything. They didn't want to answer questions. They didn't care about the game. They didn't care about being at the Big 12 tournament. This team only cares about one thing, and that's winning the darn national championship. They are tunnel vision. They are hell-bent. They are focused in, give me Houston Cougars. And I think this game is going to be, around that 70s echelon in points. Caden, right as you said, but give me Houston to come out.
Give me your score prediction, Max.
I'm getting there. I'm getting there. Dang it, don't rush me. But I do have a 72-68 victory for the Houston Cougars.
It all comes down to Dwyer.
So I got the Gators versus the Rocky Top. You see, I think it's going to be a very close game. I think it's going to come down to a game winner. I think it's going to be a 70-69 game winner.
Ooh, okay.
Give me the Gators, baby. They're cutting down those freaking hoops, man. It's coming down. Oh, yeah. Go Gators.
Go Gators, baby.
Cougs. Well, it has been a very exciting episode. We thank you guys all so much for being able to stick it out and stay through the end. We appreciate Dwyer for coming on and, making a little collab episode, joining in the basketball realm for a little bit. As always, we thank you all for listening, and we'll see you all next time.